Hey guys, how's it going? ItZMuRdA here with the Game Update 13 patch note overview as usual. The interesting thing about today is that the patch was actually delayed far longer than it usually is. It kind of felt like an old school Blizzard patch day, which I guess is good for SOE, that we kind of have seemingly taken it for granted that their patch days for PlanetSide have been pretty smooth and pretty quick. Very little downtime and all of that thus far, and now this was the unusual one. It's probably the biggest or one of the biggest patches size-wise since release, so it's understandable that they wanted to get all that worked out, and I certainly don't mind downtime if it means a more stable build once it actually gets released, so no worries there. Anyway, there is a lot of notes to go through, but I did make some notes of my own, and hopefully it won't take too long. There's a lot of things that I'm going to skip over that you kind of just need to read for yourself, or there's not a whole lot to say about. So without further ado, the servers, I don't even know if they're up yet. I just got home and just patched, so hopefully I'll actually get to jump in towards the beginning of the patch for once rather than being at work all day. Anyway, looking right through the list, there is some even more changes to the automated, or to the server recommendations now being more automated to look at both Empire population and server population within the last 24 hours. And I think that's pretty cool. So not only will it favor the Empire that your character is, depending on the server that you're choosing, but also the server population in the sense of choosing one server like Matherson or Waterson within the same region over another server. So that's pretty cool. I think that the changes in Game Update 12 for that actually helped a lot more than I anticipated they would with balancing populations out, so anything in that regard is good by me. The alert experience change is pretty cool. There's some people, a lot of people, that would jump to the winning Empire on alerts at the very last minute. Beforehand, it would usually be VS on Matherson in the recent past, and I was proud of myself for never having done this. Even though I play all three Empires, I kind of wanted to stick by I'm not really a fourth faction person. I just play all three Empires, and I purposely didn't jump to the winning Empire for any alert wins. Even though a ton of people did, and the pop would usually go up to 40% plus right as it was about to end. So I was kind of proud of that, even though I, essentially missed out on free EXP. And you might think it's stupid of me, who knows? But anyway, can't do that anymore. There's actually a person that I know of, in fact, and probably many more than just one person that were just leveling an alt completely, dedicated to that. They've got like 1,000 plus score per minute and stuff like that. So. Sad for them, but it makes a lot of sense, and I'm glad that they changed that to actually reward you for your participation in the alert, just how you used to get rewarded for base caps in PlanetSide 1. There's also some improved respawn logic that Malorn talked about a lot on PSU forums and things like that. I'm not going to get into the details, just to say that it was frustrating being on both sides of this, feeling like you really should be able to spawn at a base that needed reinforcements, but it didn't trigger the old logic, and you weren't able to, and it was frustrating. Lots of times you'd have to go back to Sank or another base and try to pull a vehicle to get over to there, and you couldn't get there in time. So hopefully that helps with that. Like I said, I'm not going to read through everything. You can see it for yourself, but the idea is that they're making it a lot more intelligible for the system to give you spawn choices that make sense to you and allow you to always spawn at linked facilities and things like that. So that's pretty cool. Another thing that I'm not going to really get into, because the tutorial changes are always have a lot of words to them, a lot of depth to them, and it's kind of hard to just go through each and every line and each and every word and explain exactly what changed or what was added to a tutorial. So it's not usually something I cover in depth, but any changes to the tutorial for the better are great, and you should check it out if you're interested, and hopefully it helps keep new players playing the game with the recruit program and stuff that's out now. So that's also good by me. The XP changes with suicides, that's another big one that is kind of like the alert experience participation thing that I just talked about above. And this is a big one for pilots that would log out or suicide or whatever. And now not only do they get that death credit, if it goes to the last player that damaged them within 10 seconds as well, is awarded the kill. So that's pretty cool. That was another thing I frowned upon. I tried to never intentionally kill myself or whatever. I would bail out of a vehicle if I was like just getting hounded by AA. But if I was in a dogfight, I would stay in there and let the other person get the kill. Again, just personal. I guess it goes back to some dignity from PlanetSide 1 dogfighting, but a good change that I'm happy about. I think trying to pad your KD, like at least one person is very good at, that I won't mention any names, by logging out or whatever. It's just kind of goofy, so glad that they fixed that. We've got new in Depot. The NSSMG that we've been looking forward to for a long time is finally here. I'm not going to say too much about it. I think this this short blurb actually covers and explains its strengths very, very well. I also did a video on it on my YouTube. If you're interested in knowing a little bit more about how I feel about it, I'm going to be picking it up right away and having some fun with it. There's also the third generation default pistols is what I've been calling them, at least, because they're just kind of alternatives to your first and second gen pistols that the game launched with. And I'm not too excited about them, but I can't complain about them. The Inquisitor and the Cerberus just kind of seemed very, very basic. Felt a lot like your default pistol, just with different stats that you might prefer over them. The ItZMuRdA was pretty interesting to me because it's a 2x burst pistol, and especially for NC, that's quite the alternative that they don't have right now. So that's the one that I'm actually the most interested in. I may pick it up and give it a shot, but I like my Commissioner so much that I'm not so sure that these are on the high priority for me right now. But definitely give them a try in VR, see if you like any over the alternative that you're using right now. And I can't really complain when new stuff gets added like that. So there's also some other things, camos and bundles, cosmetics. 7 new camos available. The grayscales camo I really liked when I was testing it out on in VR on beta. It's a pretty dark camo. It might be the easy way to get your crystallized black camo without recruiting 10 people for the program, because it felt pretty cool. I liked how it looked a lot. So definitely look into that if you were pumped about the black and then sad when you heard that it was part of the recruit program. So that might be a good alternative for you. The other bundles, I'm not sure exactly what's in here yet, but it looks like they bundled camos together again. They say most popular, so that's pretty cool. Some people might be interested in getting that. I personally bought the mega bundles, so they probably won't have anything for me there. And this one I thought was interesting. Kind of reminded me of what Battlefield 3 did after a while, where you're actually buying bundles that are loadouts that are suggested. So I'm not, again, sure exactly what's included in there, but I'm interested to check them out. It's probably not something that at this point I would buy, since I mostly have most of those things unlocked, or at least enough of the bundle unlocked where it wouldn't be worth it for me. But definitely might be really good for new players and things like that to get a nice discount. The new cosmetics, I'm not a huge decal person, but there are new decals. The only other thing I wanted to mention here is that there was a price change, which I think is for the better. Pretty much lowered prices and made them more consistent with decals and hood ornaments. Most of these things I never really cared to buy, even when they were on sale. And lowering the price, maybe I'll pick up a hood ornament for 25 cents when it's on sale now, or something like that. I don't know, a decal for 50 cents. So why not? The VS Audio, that's a big one. As you can see, assault rifles, carbines, LMGs, sniper rifles, pistols, rocket launchers, and the Lasher, as well as all the suppressed variants, all got changes to audio. I think the feedback on that has been resounding happiness in favor of the new sound. So definitely check those out if you haven't. I think they sound a lot better for sure. This was another thing we noticed on beta when we were testing Esamir. The hipfire reticule will now turn red when you're hovering over an enemy that's close to you. I don't really feel like that's going to change much for me, but it certainly, I don't think, can hurt. I don't know how much I like it or not, if I could choose to have it or not, and maybe toggle it off myself. Of course, it's not going to happen on cloaked infiltrators, but I'm sure it can't hurt, especially a newer player. There is a lot of pistol changes to existing pistols. I'm not going to go through all of them. This is the type of thing you want to read through. I think pretty much everything got buffed. The repeater got a slight nerf. I don't even know if you can call it a nerf at that slight. Just really a damage scaling issue and fall off. And the Commissioner didn't get changed. Everything else that was already in the game pretty much got buffed slightly. Clegg did some very meticulous optics alignment. I doubt many of you are going to even notice a difference there, but it's there, and I'm going to give him credit for it. So good job, Clegg. And then there's some changes to the cert lines for ammo belts. We saw that in the notes a while ago. Not a big deal there. Cloak shader changes. This one's huge for me. Low graphics settings cloak is now less gray and more transparent. I've been waiting for that for a while. I personally don't play on low. I tried it out a while back. I just prefer medium, but I did realize that playing on low often made cloakers easier to see for you. So I'm very, very glad, as somebody who plays Infiltrator often, that it's not going to be quite as often where I'm just like, clear as day to see from far away, just because somebody's playing on low settings, and probably most people play on low settings and don't even realize that it's benefiting them like that, just because they want to get as much performance out of the game as possible. So very happy about that. Another one that I'm pretty happy about that I didn't expect originally, but we saw it in the patch notes last week sometime, or maybe even before then. The advanced shield capacitor change, it basically got buffed from 2.5 seconds to 4 seconds reduction at max rank. And it's really cheap to cert up. It's only like a couple hundred certs to get to rank 5, so I would recommend going for the max rank if you're going to try it. It's actually pretty helpful and a potential thing to run in place of NanoWeave for certain setups. I'm definitely going to be getting it and trying it out. If you don't know, it takes 10 seconds normally to recharge your shield. With this certed in, it would take 6 seconds instead for you to not take damage before your shield starts recharging. So it's actually a pretty significant change, especially for somebody who plays rather aggressively. There's plenty of times that I've died to either being impatient or not having a choice and not having my shield recharged before I got into another fight. So excited about that as well. Explosion changes. I don't think there was a whole lot in here. I don't really care for this line because I obviously have been a stickler for NanoWeave since the beginning, but I totally understand that they want to make Flak a little bit more competitive as the choice that will help you against explosives. I did feel like frag and sticky grenades were very weak in damage, so I don't mind this change. This is an interesting line that the anti-infantry mines animate and play audio, but animate, I'm curious to see what that looks like before detonating, and there's also a slightly longer time on both activating them and throwing them. So I can't complain there. They got buffed a little bit essentially with all of this, but they also got nerfed essentially with being able to detect them better if you're smart about it. So can't really complain there. And also enemy explosives can now be spotted, which also may make it a little bit easier to see them. There's also other things that have new icons for being spotted. Turrets, basically, explosives, and then all vehicles, which can't really hurt there. Can't complain about that. They've cleaned up the HUD a bit, but they've also added some other useful information. These bug fixes down here, I don't really think any of it's worth mentioning other than the first one I spoke about when originally previewing this stuff, that the MCG will no longer have that first-person pop when you're strafing while ADSing, which is really annoying for acquiring your target, so I'm glad that they fixed that. You get the first of the, probably Game Update 14 and 15 will also have ESF changes. This one focuses on what we've seen on test for a while now, basic changes to the default guns and the rotary cannons. A lot of stuff to read here. I'm not going to read it all. There's some pretty basic things that they're trying to accomplish as for Empire variants and things that are better for one Empire, worse for the other. If you scroll through that's all the exact changes, but basically the Mosquito would go for the highest rate of fire, and would also sustain fire the longest with the largest clip. The Reaver would retain the highest damage and kill slightly faster, and have its damage fall off start at a further range. And the time to reload would be the least on the scythe, as well as the projectile being the most on the scythe. So those are kind of like the benefits of each that they tried to keep pretty consistent across those. Some other weapon changes. The Basilisk, I mean, it needed something because it was very weak and not something you use really unless you didn't have another weapon for your vehicle. I'm kind of excited about it because after I finish the Cobalt on my Flash, I'm going to be using the Basilisk, so any change to it's fine. It's not a huge buff or anything like that, but why not? I don't really use the Drake. I don't really use the Shredder, although it's good in the right hands of a good gunner and pilot, and got a tiny buff there, so I'm sure they can't complain about that. The Vulcan changes are interesting. They seem like they're a bigger deal than I think they actually are, with the damage getting more than doubled to max damage and the min damage getting just under doubled. But changing the armor piercing resist type, I think, probably offsets that a bit. And as they said, it's ideally going to be less powerful as an AA tool, because it was extremely powerful against aircraft and also more powerful against infantry, which I guess makes sense. I'm not a huge fan of AV tearing up infantry in this game like wall turrets and rockets and things like that do, but I get it. So I don't think this is going to be a huge buff, but it probably makes sense. There were some really tiny changes to Sunder resistance, some tiny changes to harasser resistance, minor nerfs, and then this one's nice, the pitch angle. That really is going to help with like the PPA and certain weapons for sure. I think that's probably the one that I would think that it would help with the most, but that's a nice quality of life fix for the gunners of harassers. There's also some radar changes, some like tooltip description changes. The big ones are that they now detect cloaked infiltrators like the recon tool, and the proxy radar only detects moving players. But the scout radar now only functions if somebody is in your vehicle, so you can't just park a aircraft or a flash or something like that empty somewhere to give yourselves all of that radar. So I think those are the changes that are really worth noting as far as those go. The adding the chat box to the full screen UI, that's really huge. So you can chat on your map, you can chat while you're dead. That's one that we've been asking for a while, and I'm glad to finally see it. The additional platoon leader waypoints, they're not really going to affect me, but even just playing with some larger platoons a couple nights here and there, I can see how helpful they'll be for platoon leaders to assign waypoints via squad. So that'll be pretty cool. I'm sure that a lot of people will enjoy that. Some extra linking stuff in the depot, so you can see new items on top, sale items on top. Some more things that just make sense when you're trying to browse it. I saw, I think it was Alex. I'm not sure. One of the devs posted that the lock and unlock tabs would be coming back in, that I asked Matt Higby about the other week, and I was like, where did these go? Because I really liked, not being able to see the things that I've already unlocked. So he posted that they'd be coming back, but I didn't see them in the notes, so hopefully they made it in and just escaped the notes, because that happens sometimes. Not a whole lot of other stuff right here that I think really needs too much mentioning. I noticed this, spotting while zoomed or while in iron sights should no longer be harder to do than spotting from the hip. That probably makes sense, because if you think about it, lots of times you would spot while hip firing just because you have that greater view and it would actually hit more people. But they changed that so that you don't have to actually do that when you're spotting stuff, so that's cool. The capture timing, I don't know how I feel about it yet. I'll have to see how it actually feels when fighting. They brought all amp stations and tech plants down to 7 minutes instead of 10. I guess I could go for that. I'm not really a huge fan of very, very quick caps and the whole destroy the SCU and be done with it right away. That's really bringing the SCU gen back to Biolabs is one of my least favorite changes of all time in this game. So I don't know how I'll feel about that, but I can't really complain about it. We'll see, like I said, how it feels. This one also doesn't really make it very clear. If you own all capture points in a Biolab, it will cap much faster than the already faster 7 minutes. So that feels like it's just going to be destroy the SCU as fast as possible, cap to base, and that's just, I don't like that. I like fighting on biolabs, not bio farms where you're just farming some choke point, but I like actually fighting at them. So I'm not sure how I'm going to feel about that, but we'll have to see before I can really pass too much judgment on it. It's funny that Esamir lattice and facility enhancement just like comes down here. Like I would have thought that would have been the first note as like a big heading, because it's a huge change, much more huge than the Indar changes in my opinion. But as I'm sure you know, there's a half-hour long video that I did flyby of Esamir preview from the test server. There is an enormous amount of changes. I went from current Esamir to the new Esamir, back to the current Esamir, and it feels way different. The current version feels so empty when I went back to live servers pre-game update 13, and even just comparing Indar, it feels like so much more went into individual base updates in Esamir than on Indar. Like Indar was a lot of battle flow improvements, but Esamir changes are really amazing. Some of the new bases, some of the redesigned bases, the Octagon and all of that, they're really great. I can't wait to fight on them. I just hope that it doesn't bring so many people that we lag like we do on Indar, and I hope that it doesn't bring so many people that we get into the point of just spawn camping or a huge, enormous amount of people all in the same spot causing problems related to that. But hopefully the geography design and the architectural design of the bases and the new continent helps alleviate that. I know I didn't sound too excited, but that's really amazing, and you should check it out. I'm really excited about that. Esamir has been my favorite continent since it was first released in beta, and I think it probably will be for a while. So I'm really, really, really looking forward to that stuff. As soon as I'm done talking, I'm going to hop in and check them out. So these things, not really a big deal, but pretty cool. Lots of people would try to grief with engineered turrets because they have nothing better to do with their lives, and now you can't really place them in easy griefing areas. So that's why not. That's always good when we can stop the griefing. I think that's pretty much it. This last section of bug fixes is just really like the most general bug fixes. A lot of stuff relating to Esamir changes, and not a whole lot worth picking out and really talking about individually. So it's probably gone on longer than I anticipated for Game Update 13. Even though it is a very long and big patch, I didn't think I had this much to talk about. So I'm pretty excited about getting into game. Patch it up if you haven't, and be sure to stop by the stream over at ItZMuRdA.com or twitch.tv/ItZMuRdA_TV. I will definitely be streaming a lot of PlanetSide 2, new Esamir in the very near future, in the coming days, and so on and so forth. So check us out over there. Thanks for the subs on YouTube. If you want to check me out on Twitter, same as the YouTube handle at @ItZMuRdAX. And you guys have a good one. I'll see you on Esamir. Take care.